dead inmates, corporate greed, and a society that doesn't give a shit. We're not talking about the US judicial system, we're talking about Gamer. Gamer is a 2009 action sci-fi film written and directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. This is the dynamic duo who brought us Crank 1, Crank 2, and Ghost Rider 2. It stars Gerard Butler as Cable, a battle-hardened convict. Amber Valletta plays Angie, his wife. Michael C. Hall plays Ken Castle, a sociopathic Bill Gates type. Logan Lerman plays Simon, an esports superstar. Terry Crews plays Hackman, the big bad. The supporting cast in this film is pretty crazy. You've got really famous stunt people, MMA fighters, character actors, and even rappers. So the year is 2034, and an enigmatic software developer has come out with a game that lets you see and feel what other people are experiencing. And even better than that, it lets you control them, so whatever they're doing, you're experiencing from the comfort of your living room. You basically get to treat a human being like they are an avatar in an MMORPG. And of course, this being modern society, the first thing that we do is play to our basest desires. So sex, violence, drugs, all that kind of stuff. It starts out with a second lifestyle game called Society, and it evolves into a first-person shooter called Slayers. Except in the game of Slayers, the avatar that you are controlling is a death row inmate, and if they win 30 matches, they get to go free. So Gerard Butler's Cable is the first to make it close to 30 matches, but will he survive to make it to freedom and see his wife? As you guys know, when I talk about movies, I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll just talk about the good and the bad. So let's get to the good. This film really shows people's obsession with violence, and that goes back to really the gladiatorial games, and it extends up to now with some of our sporting events and even some of our esports games. The opening montage is pretty effective. It shows how mass media and advertising and pop culture has become this obsession the world over. It's kind of cool to see some of the issues that we as hardcore gamers face or deal with in this movie. They talk about trolls, they talk about ping, they talk about lag. You've got NPCs, you've got usernames that pop up on the screen. You've got people doing dumb shit with their avatar to themselves, to others. And that's exactly how it is when you play games online. Michael C. Hall's Ken Castle is an annoying douchebag, and that really fits with a lot of modern day developers. You know who I'm talking about. When you think about game developers, there's a few people who come to your mind who make really big claims that don't quite make it there, or they're really cocky, and again, they can't really back up those claims or their attitude. This guy personifies that. Gerard Butler does what he can with what he was given, and he's pretty effective in this role. He's got a really good range of emotions in this movie. You see anger, you see sadness, you see some joking, you got all that stuff. And sometimes they show you what the people who are controlling these avatars, these human beings in Society and Slayers look like. Of course, the portrayal of a gamer is this really disgusting fat guy who's half naked and he's got food grease all over him, and every time they show him eating, he's just sucking it up and scarfing it up. It's really disgusting, and I guess that's what the filmmakers thought that gamers look like. Of course, on the other hand, you've got Simon, who's this really good-looking esports superstar. So I guess when you're a gamer, you're either really cool and good-looking or you're fat and disgusting. The sound design in this film is actually really good. The sound effects for the guns and explosions and even like people eating their food, it really makes the film pop. The music for the most part is actually pretty good and it helps build the tension. There are these little moments of introspection and these flashbacks that help you see what Cable is thinking about, where he's coming from, and they do help you connect with his character a bit. There are some genuinely stunning shots in this film, especially like during the battles. The second battle especially, you've got these big explosions and great practical effects, vehicles flying through the air. You've got gore, and you've got all these little things that happen during the matches, like the NPCs that really can't control themselves. You really hope that they can make it out, and you hope they don't get hurt. So it is really effective with some of that stuff. Now, the people who are controlling the avatars don't actually get to communicate with them, and the avatars don't get to communicate back. They just become one, kind of. So when Simon and Cable finally do get to communicate, it has a really cool dynamic and it adds to the film. You can tell that like the art and set design, people put a lot of time and effort into this movie because the set design is really cool, whether it's like an outdoor combat area or the inside of like a prison or whatever. It all looks really good. There's a lot of nice touches. There are these moments where these NPCs who can't take care of themselves, they're not allowed to control their behavior, they're kind of programmed to do something, and if they survive during that one battle, they're free to go. You really kind of worry about them, you want to see them survive, so when something does happen to them, it really bums you out. The people in the movie, they gloss over it, they use them as human shields, they don't give a shit, and I think that speaks to basically online culture now, not just online gaming, but online in general. If you go to the YouTube comment section of any video, probably even this one, you're going to see all kinds of toxic stuff because people are sitting in the safety of their homes or wherever they're at. Nothing's going to happen to them, so they can say and do what they want without any repercussions. A lot of the kills that you see Gerard Butler do in the game, they're pretty cool, and you can tell that they thought about them and they were trying to be creative with it, so I appreciated that touch. But that's really all I have to say about the good, so let's get to the bad. I, as a filmmaker, really enjoy a good, clean, well-framed shot. I understand you need a little bit of shaky cam sometimes to, enhance the action of a scene, or maybe to help certain cuts match up with others. This film is so shaky, it's ridiculous. We're talking like that last Die Hard movie shaky. It's just really, really bad. Like at one point I was starting to get a little queasy because there's so much shake to the camera. It's really disorienting and it's really stupid, especially during the combat scenes. The combat scenes should be really good, but they are ruined by this overly glitchy editing, all these effects. They're doing these things to show lag, but the passing of the time goes too quick or too slow sometimes. It creates this disconnect between you and that scene, and you don't get into it as much because you're just like, Jesus, what is all this stuff going on? And all my film editing friends out there watching this, at one point in this movie, if you haven't seen it, I shit you not, there was an actual lens flare transition. It doesn't make any sense. It sticks out like a sore thumb. I loved it, honestly. It was so bad, it was fantastic. I was just laughing like, holy shit, they actually use that. Everyone knows that they're in the software, but nobody uses it. One thing that's important about action sequences, especially firefights, is geography, where the people are in relationship to the camera, so you can keep track of them, you can know who gets shot and from where and all that kind of stuff. This film sucks at it. It is truly horrible. There is no thought in geography. It is just all over the place. I think they just shot a bunch of coverage and then said to an editor, make it look cool. I also noticed that during the parts where they're gaming, cables running through and he gets to save points. My question is, how are there save points? Because if you get shot, you die. You're f***ing dead. So why is there a save point? It makes no sense whatsoever. This is one of those films where the dialogue is so shit that it's fantastic. It tries so hard to be edgy, and it is anything but. See, and here's the thing about the language in this film. I am a former U.S. service member, so the shit that comes out of my mouth, it just makes normal people's ears bleed. And there's stuff in this film that even I wouldn't say because, one, it's either too cheesy or it's just way too harsh or disgusting. So when that happens and I see something, I'm like, Jesus, really? You said that? That's pretty bad. The thing about the editing in this movie is they're trying to make everything super exciting when really what they're doing is making it distracting. There's parts where it's just normal dialogue, two people talking, and the camera's flying all over the place and it's cutting and it's doing these extreme close-ups and then it's showing like all these shocked reactions and everything else. It makes no sense whatsoever and you're just sitting there like, what is going on? John Leguizamo is an amazing actor, a really funny guy, he's really smart, and a lot of times he's underutilized. Now, the few times that he's in this movie, he just plays this really weird sleazebag. Something happens later on, you're supposed to kind of care and everything, and I still did a little bit, but not nearly as much as I would have if they had made him like a little bit deeper of a character and not so f***ing weird, man. This whole movie is just really weird. Speaking of the characters, let's get to the game called Society. In this movie, all these people show up to work at this one place. It's like one place. There's like a little square and there's a nightclub and that's it. So you're telling me that this world famous online video game that millions of people are playing, where they get to control other human beings and feel all the nasty, dirty stuff that they're doing, only takes place in this little town square and in that one bar? How would all the people fit? Why are they only doing these certain couple things? Everyone dresses the same, everyone acts the same. It doesn't make any sense. This game would flop. They also actually show some gaming journalists in this movie, and of course, every gaming journalist looks and sounds like a total f***ing sleazebag. What did the directors think about gamers? Why are you making a movie called Gamer when you treat gamers and gaming journalists and everyone that's involved with gaming with such disrespect? Honestly, f*** these guys. When it comes to games, one of the most important things is the user interface. How you control the players, how you go through the menus and all that kind of stuff. And the user interface in this movie makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know how it would be feasible, how it would work, because honestly, if you look at what they're doing in the movie, it doesn't match with what happens on the screen, in the game itself. The title cards of the movie and, when they show different locations and stuff, they actually use the impact font, the meme font. Like, these guys treat everything like it's a joke, like it's just one big meme. Anytime they show people eating in this movie, it's never just like somebody eating. It's like really close up and it's all... It's really disgusting, and I don't understand what they were trying to do there. Everything about this movie, from the editing to the narrative itself, is just so fragmented and convoluted. It's all over the place. And to have Terry Crews as your bad guy, that's awesome. That's genius. He is so wasted in this movie. He's a one-note bad guy who really does nothing the entire film. Honestly, when I was watching this, I was thinking how much more menacing like Taye Diggs' character in Equilibrium was over Terry Crews' massive hulking bad guy. He is so ineffective in this film, and it's not him, his acting, it's the material that he was given. It's just garbage. A lot of the visuals in this movie are just really distracting, like there's horrible color grading, and there's all these flashing lights for no reason, like all over the place. It's like J.J. Abrams' lens flares, but like times 10. With Gerard Butler's portrayal of Cable this entire film, you connect to him, you feel that he is heroic and he has a point and that he's being a good guy, and you really like that. You're really on board with him. You want to see him succeed. But about 2/3 of the way through the movie, he does this one thing that goes completely against his character. I kind of see why he did it, but at the same time, I don't think he would do what he did. I think if they had added a little more to the runtime and had more interactions between like Simon and Castle, Cable and Simon, and Cable and Castle, and all this kind of stuff, it would have added more depth. It would have added more connective tissue to the film. It would have made it a bit stronger. It would have given the final confrontation a bit more gravitas and made it more meaningful for the viewer. There was so much potential for this movie, and it was just squandered. And the main problem is this movie took itself way too serious. It should have been much more self-aware and been much more fun. This is one of those films that's a really great time to watch with a bunch of your friends, where you just kind of talk shit and make fun of it, kind of like Mystery Science Theater. But when it comes time to sit down and enjoy a nice film-going experience and, maybe relax a little and get engrossed into something where you don't feel like you wasted your time, this is not the film you're looking for. So there is some good to this movie, but there is a lot of bad. All that being said, what is the score? Drum roll, please. 3 out of 10.